Goalies are always a hotly debated subject in the NHL, so I've brought in one of my past players, Carson Cherepak, who just signed his newly minted full scholarship to a Division I university in the new Ivy Leagues in the United States, RPI College. I am really pumped to share Carson's story and his journey from AA and A1 all the way to the Division I ranks in the United States, as well as his time in junior, his desire to be a professional, and his opinions on modern goaltending. Everything from how much does size matter for some of the best goalies out there, guys like UC Saros who are smaller compared to a guy like Jake Ottinger who is a monster. How does Carson go ahead and use size to allow him to affect his game? The technicalities of goaltending, from skating to positioning to scrambling to playing the puck. And then we go ahead and talk about a lot of the nuances that we see in some of the groups that you're in and the comments down below when it comes to the best ways to score goals, how goalies coexist with their backup goalie, how goalies develop, and what is a goalie's mindset when playing on an elite team. If you're excited for it, I'm excited for it, and I want you to go ahead and subscribe and join to the channel during or just before this interview, which we're going to launch right now. And if you subscribe and like, I'm going to give the best 2 questions that you asked down below to Carson himself. So if you ever had a question that you wanted to ask an elite goaltender, you let me know. I'll pass it on to Carson, and he's promised to answer me 2 at the end of this interview. Let's go ahead and let's get after it. All right, Carson, thanks for being here, man. We have talked goalies on this channel endlessly. It's the biggest topic I get. It's the most comments I get. Everybody has an opinion about a goalie, and we're going to use your journey as a Division I goalie, newly minted, to kind of talk to us about goaltending today and give us a little bit of a pathway through and an insight into the mind of a goaltender. How's it sound?
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All
definitely.
right. You've committed where? Tell us where you've committed. Tell us where you're going for D1.
Yeah, so I committed to RPI, Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. It's a school in Troy, New York. Yeah. And I'll be playing in the ECAC. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So this is an East Coast school.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, we have Canadian fans and American fans on here. So as a Canadian hockey coach, and I coached Carson, which is, I mean, it was pretty cool. So this is one of my favorite parts about coaching, is getting to meet guys like you, watching you grow up through the system and seeing where you get to go in hockey. It's also equally as cool to see people just become members of society at large and just good men and women. But it's always kind of cool when you get to hit that dream. It's foreign to us as Canadians playing in the NCAA, because yes, it happens. And I know a lot of fans on this channel can just rattle off names about Canadians that play, but it's pretty rare, isn't it? Like, out of all your friends that have played, how many have gone to the States to play? Yeah,
for sure. So, I mean, Canada's heavily dominated by the CHL. And I think that's just because we're exposed to it at such a young age. So, you know, like 14 years old, I think, Bantam draft, when you start getting talked to by Western League teams. And a lot of kids at that point aren't even educated about the college route. So I was really fortunate. My goalie coach played at North Dakota. I won a national championship there. So I was kind of brainwashed from a young age to take the college route. So I never really even gave the dub the time of day or any thought. I probably wasn't even good enough at that age. Yeah. But I was for late bloomers, for guys who want to extend their career past 20 years old, I think the college route is the one to take.
So you said something really interesting there. You said your goalie coach brainwashed you.
Yeah.
And I know you're saying that politely, but how big of an influence is it? Your parents, your goalie coaches, and where players are going. How big of an influence do you think that is on you? And do you think that is on people your age going through the system as to where they're going to choose?
Well, I think, you know, players are a product of their environment. You know, it's coaches, it's parents, it's friends, it's mentors. And he's been my mentor since I was 9 or 10 years old. So he really helped, he always had my best interest in mind. Yeah. And he really helped craft my path. You know, parents are awesome. They support you. They take care of you. They fund you. But at the same time, a lot of them, they haven't been through hockey the same way coaches have. And they don't know what the hockey world looks like today.
Nice. All right, how about your parents? Were they hockey players?
My dad played hockey, but it was a long time ago. Like, he never played super competitively at an older age. So this is all new territory.
Okay, so you've entered into the weird territory of there's a billion players playing when we're in Bantam, we're in Pee Wee, 11, 12, 13, and now how many are left from all your friends that you played with through AA, AAA? How many are left that you can just think of?
I mean, outside of the friends who are on my team, not a ton. And it's something I talk about with my friends a lot, actually. I get a lot of really nice texts and stuff when I accomplish something. Like, you're making us all really proud. Like, you're doing something cool, right? Like, you're doing something that, well, you stuck to the dream, right? Like, you kept chasing it. So that makes me really proud that they respect me in that sense. So that's definitely a feather in the cap. That's
awesome. So you talk about hitting the dream or sticking to the dream.
Yeah.
So we've talked on this channel ad nauseum about the fact that you really only get one shot to shoot your shot at pro. And I think at the end of the day, every player's goal is to make pro. Is that your goal?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. 100%. And that's refreshing to hear, because I think a lot of people say, especially in the adult section, like when I was coaching or parents are talking, I just want my kid to get an education. I just want to do this. But I've always truly believed, even at 13, 14, like when I had you have it in the back of your mind. You want to play pro. Like, have you had that in your mind?
Yeah. I mean, when I was the kid that when you'd have to fill out an assignment in elementary school, what do you want to do when you're older? Is I want to play hockey, right? It was, it's never been an if. It was just, this is what I want to do. So
that is super interesting. It's never been an if.
No.
Like, this is a when for you.
For me, I know everyone says it's really good to have a plan B, and that's why I'm taking the college route. That's a huge perk of the college route. But at the same time, like, there's nothing else I can see myself doing. Every day I wake up and I go to the rink or I go to the gym.
So it's funny. So at your age, with your group of friends and your people that are doing it, I think a lot of adults around the game would say it either sounds egotistical or cocky to say like a when, not if. But I think you can agree, when we were working together, I've told this to every player I've had. It's never changed. If you don't have a mindset of when, get out.
Yeah.
Because I really don't think you can be humble enough to just say, oh, I'm not going to do this. I think if you don't believe in you, no one's believing in you. And you have to have that like back against the wall mentality that this is my option.
Yeah. It's
great to have a plan B, as you should, because the odds are this low. But when people say the odds are this low, someone fits in that box. Yeah. That's the thing. When they say 0% of players make the NHL in this team, that was an old adage that a famous coach gave to a bunch of parents at a AAA team once. That's actually wrong. Someone is making the NHL.
Yeah, and I think, like, if you want to talk numbers and who's making it, the cutoff is always so small, making the jump to the next level. And like you said, every year there's kids making that jump. I think I saw a stat the other day, and is if you're a college athlete, you're already in like the top 5% of athletes progressing their careers, which is a crazy number to me. I was like mind blown even thinking about that. But I do think, like, if you're going to do something, you do it right. You go all out, you put your all into it. And that's what I've been doing, and I don't intend to change. You go through the process and like, it feels slow and it feels so like prolonged, and you don't really take a minute to reflect and like look at how far you've come. And that was like a moment for me. It was like, okay, like I've done something really exciting here.
So you played in the Manitoba Junior League, correct?
Yeah. So, well, I had actually, that was kind of a big part of my process as well. Is I had the option to leave midget a year early, so at 17, and I chose to go back for my 18-year-old year just to open up some doors for me.
Interesting. So you stayed in the AAA system at 18.
Yeah. So I had a really good 17-year-old season. I had some opportunity, and I decided I wanted to go back and do it all again, which was an easy decision for me. Like, I had a great coach at midget. I had a great midget program, and I wanted to see what kind of doors I could open up overall. I did not want to play in the MJ, but I wanted to see what else there was out there.
Yeah.
So I was drafted in the USHL.
Okay.
I spent about 2.5 months with my USHL team. It was a COVID season, extended training camp, whatever you want to call it. And then I was released there eventually, and I actually signed in the AJ. So I played COVID season in the AJ. So we played 24 exhibition games, I think.
Wow. So in the same season, you played in the USHL and the Alberta Junior Hockey League.
Yeah. And then in the USHL, very like
it's a cup of coffee.
Like, I didn't play a single game. It was extended training camp. I was basically just there for the ride. But so I went from Lincoln, Nebraska in the USHL to Edmonton, Sherwood Park in the AJ. Okay. So that was your home base. And Sherwood Park, is this where you got offered your college scholarship? No. So I ended up playing, well, I guess full season is, you can't really say it was a full season because it's 24 games because of COVID, in the AJ. And then I returned there for training camp the next season. So it would have been this past season. And I requested a trade really, really early. And I didn't really know where I was going to end up. But
you requested a trade?
I requested a trade.
We'll get into that.
Yeah, okay. I figured you'd have something to say about that. And yeah, I landed in Dauphin, and it ended up being a really good fit. Obviously, we had a great playoff run. The guys really welcomed me. The coaching staff was great, and that's when I ended up getting offers. I didn't have any up until I'd been offered visits, and I'd been in touch with a handful of schools, but the offers started coming late Dauphin Kings season. Yeah.
So late in your 18-year-old season.
Late, it would have been my 19-year-old season.
Your 19-year-old season? Yeah. And you have 1 year left of junior eligibility still, right?
Which I won't be taking.
You're going into college. So that's what's really crazy about this is I've painted this picture on this channel a few times. There are so many choices of leagues. And I think a lot of fans may think that everybody has every choice. No. But sometimes your choices for some players, they get any choice they want. Cale Makar, for instance, people love talking about him. He had any choice he wanted. Yeah. He could have played in the dub, the A, it wouldn't have mattered. Yeah. Most players and still NHL players may only get so many choices. So how did you feel about what you're like? You got 3 leagues. Yeah. That's impressive.
Yeah, so, and the crazier part about it is like my rights were owned in between those teams in other places as well. Like my rights were owned in the SJ for a short amount of time. I had my null rights were owned at one point. My CHL rights were owned. I was with Victoria for would have been, I think, 2 seasons almost.
So they had you on their list. So if you played in the dub, you had to go to the Royals.
Correct. Yeah. So they kind of called me mid-season when I was in Sherwood and just said, hey, like, we know you want to go to college, but if you want a WHL option, we're interested, right? So my rights were on there for a little bit. And yeah, like as far as leagues go, it was super crazy, like bouncing around like that and getting a taste for the different leagues.
So walk me through this process. You're in the AJHL, which a lot of people who watch this channel that are super fans will know is one of the best at producing college athletes, at least in sheer volume, right? The BCHL is right there. The MJHL produces athletes, but not as many. And the WHL would have paid your Canadian university education, likely in full, because I bet you could have negotiated 3 years at least. So you've got options. So why no to the dub? Why back to Manitoba? Just walk me through your process of picking the right place to develop.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start with the dub first. Okay. We'll get that out of the way first. I went to a couple camps when I was playing midget, when my rights weren't owned. I was a free agent in the dub, just to kind of see like if this might be something for me. And they were fun, like they were good, but it just wasn't enough to sway me from the longer development path to college. And then when Victoria listed me, I just felt it was too late. Like I was turning 19, or maybe I just turned 19. I was like, it doesn't make sense to go play a year and a half in the dub and like risk losing my, like I've been working for this my whole life. It's not worth it for 1 year of hockey. And I told them that, like I made that clear. So they respected that decision, and they were really, really good about it. Like I remember they said like, hey, if you commit, like we'll be the first one to call you and congratulate you, right? So they wanted the best for me, so I appreciated that. Junior A league. So I really wanted to play in the USHL coming out of midget, just because like you want to talk like commitments. I think the commitment rate that year was 94%.
It's the #1 league. Yeah, the United States Hockey League exists to push people through the NCAA route. Yeah, and it's really interesting because I think a lot of the American fans on this channel, like the NCAA is the powerhouse at going to pro, whether you're in basketball, baseball, or football. But in Canada, we don't have that. Like our college system in Canada is great for education and an afterthought for the team sports, let's call them. I don't know how it is for individual, but for team, it's an afterthought. But in the States, the Canadian University is the pinnacle for a lot of players in terms of both career accomplishment, like how you get to pro. Yeah. So it's really unique that they created this entire junior system dedicated to going to college. Yeah. And then it also became a quasi feeder to the NHL. So you got there, you got an extended camp, and then you went back into the AJHL. So tell me what drew you into Edmonton, and then what drew you to ask for a trade back to Winnipeg? Because I'm sure it wasn't malicious. Like I'm sure it was, you wanted just the best for your development. Yeah. So walk me through it. Yeah. So I was in Lincoln, and I really liked it there. I think the USHL is a great league. I think that's exactly where you want to be if you want to go to college. And even if you want to like even skip that jump, like we had guys who had played major junior, so they don't have their NCAA eligibility anymore, go straight pro from Lincoln or whatever team they're with. So it happens. It's a very, very competitive league. But yeah, so I got released. I was very young and I didn't really know what the future held, especially with COVID and everything. So I figured I wanted something secure, and I was kind of talking to a handful of teams, and because at this point my rights weren't owned, right? So my rights were owned in the USHL,
And outside of that, I was pretty much free to do what I'd like, right? And yeah, so I got in touch with Sherwood Park, and
you got in touch with them.
They reached out to me.
Okay.
And,
I thought you cold called them.
It was actually really like crazy timing. The day that I got released, before I got released, they called me, and I said, well, like I'm with Lincoln. And then a couple hours later, I got released. So I was like, okay, like I'll give this guy a call back. So yeah, we started talking, and I was talking to other teams as well, but they were just really, really excited about having me, and they wanted me to play a big role as a young rookie, right? I hadn't played a single junior game outside of exhibition. So it was a bit of a no-brainer for me. Anywhere I go, there's two things I want, and it's full access to film, workouts, ice, like things that I can use to develop myself. And then two is I want to be an impact player on every team that I'm on. I want to be the go-to guy. So to have that opportunity as a very young junior player who's fresh in his career, it was an easy decision for me. So I went there. Unfortunately, it wasn't very it was weird because you're playing exhibition all season long. Like you're not playing for playoffs. You're not playing for a trophy. You're purely to play. So it made a weird dynamic because we're all still playing for something. We're playing for progression and the college commitment, really. But it was a weird thing because I think championship runs and playoff runs really bring teams together. So that aspect it kind of sucked to not have that when you were playing. But yeah, so I ended up in Edmonton, played the full season there. And then we went through a lot of changes, like staff changes, a lot of player changes in the off season. And it was really just this big rebuild. And I was thinking, like I'm 19 years old. I've only got 2 years left of junior, and I really wanted to make a run at something. And so I requested a trade, and they respected that. I just said like, this is what I think is best for myself, and they completely understood that, and they dished me off to Manitoba, which isn't totally surprising.
How does it feel? Because you're talking to men, like 40-year-old men. Maybe older, maybe 30.
Yeah.
You're 18 and you're asking for a trade. Like, how's your heart feeling? Like, what is that like?
Well, it was emotional. Like, it's like, these are things that I'm super passionate about, and these coaches are super passionate about. And at the end of the day, like, that's a common interest. I feel like that makes the conversation go a lot better. But it's a super, super tough thing to say, I want to do this somewhere else, right? Like, it's a tough thing to ask, right? It's a tough conversation to have. And when you have people that either respect you enough to have that conversation, or can understand it from your point of view, totally changes everything, right? Like you said, it wasn't hostile, it wasn't malicious or anything like that. It was just a parting of ways and a fresh start. Well,
you know what? The person you had a conversation with there is an A+ human being, because there are stories that I don't want to get into on YouTube where I know personally coaches that have yelled at players, tried to blacklist players, tried to remove them from lists,
bury them,
try to bury them. The egotistical position of men as opposed to developing players still exists, because this is their job, this is their livelihoods. But it's always amazing when somebody actually sees you as a human and not a tool. Like just this is my goalie, this is actually Carson Sharepack, the person. And you can have that. So that's really cool that you had that. It's really amazing that you're able to do it. So now that you've checked the box for college, you talked about winning championships is a big deal. You talked about being an impact player is a big deal. So what's the next box? What's your next baby step? Because you're there, right? They're not cutting you.
So I want to be an impact player there too, right? So whatever role they put me in to begin with, I don't know what that will look like, but I want to be the guy that they rely on to win big games, and I will do whatever it takes to be in that role. And there's a lot of work to be put in. Like I'm nowhere near where I want to be, and I don't think anyone ever is, right? Like that's the beauty of hockey is there's always more. There's always next level. There's always next step. I've been putting in the work now, and I'm going to put in the work when I get there. And whatever they need from me is all you can work on, right?
For sure. So then put us in the mindset of a player, because as fans, we just look at this and say, oh, the best player is going to play, especially the best goalie, because I think fans see it with their NHL teams all the time. We don't care what they're being paid. I just want to win games, put them in. They're a professional. But tell me about the dynamic in a room with two goalies, without naming any position you're in, any team. What is your mentality when you see a goaltending partner? Because you are partners to win, but you're also competing for a job, which there's only one of. And then the third layer is you're on a team of players, but you're playing a game in a game, are you not? Like you're on a team, but you're also on your own.
Yeah. So it's like, it's kind of I'll talk about the individualized aspect first, because I think it's interesting to me because I've been really lucky. Every team I've played on, it's like a goalie union, right? Like it's our own little team within a team. Everything we do is by it's like a group project in school, right?
Okay.
So I've had some really good coaches, and we just spit ideas back and forth off each other. Like I'm old enough, I feel like I'm mature enough to be aware of the goalie I am. I'm self-aware, and talk about what I need to work on and all that kind of stuff. So, and then you add my goalie partner into it, right? So it's a competition, and every goalie knows that. And every goalie knows that when you play with another guy, like you want the minutes, right? And I respect guys who fight for them. I think you have to have that mutual respect to say, hey, like I'm going to work on this and I'm going to push you. And even if there is an established role like backup starter, that backup should be really, really pushing to make sure that starter's staying on his toes.
So how do you frame your thinking to be so positive about it? Because I think basic human emotion is, I could work really hard and get in the gym, and I could put in the sweat, the blood, the tears. People don't like when I say this, but like getting in shape and losing weight for general people, you're an athlete, so you're not there, is actually very easy. Get in the gym, eat less. Concept, simple. Execution, brutally hard. So you know what's easier? Let's just let's find other ways around it, right? Change the narrative, but you can't do that in sport.
Yeah.
You're the starter, or you ain't the starter, or you're in this weird new concept of a shared net.
Yeah.
So how do you guys all as goaltenders stay positive with each other without defaulting to basic human instinct of like trying to bring down the other guy? How do you guys all do it? Because that sounds amazing, and that's what every coach wants, and that is what Carson brings. He's always been that way with every goalie I've seen. But how do you do it as a tandem, and what brings that unity together in the team in the goaltending room? For
me, it's always been the understanding that everybody's path looks different. Everybody's path is on a different timeline. Like I've played alongside goalies who were committed at 16 years old, and that's crazy. Like that's a huge accomplishment. But I am now going into school before those guys, and I committed at 19. Like it's a totally different path, and I've had these conversations with my goalie partners a lot. It's like, just because what I'm doing now is not what you're doing, or just because what you're doing now is not what I'm doing, doesn't mean we're both not going to get there. So if you can understand that and just keep working forward, like just 1% a day, right? Get better, get better, get better, get better. You will end up where you want to go.
Well, you got through the crap, let's call it that. You know, minor hockey can be brutal.
Yeah.
It can be absolutely just a meat grinder. How many times did you get cut from AAA?
Oh my.
So we play at 13.
Yeah.
So at 13, you played AA for me. Made the jump from A1.
13, I was
and
cut.
then
14, I was
a coach
cut.
called me at 14 and said, what do I think about you? And my answer was, you should be picking him. Yeah. And not just from a talent. I said, but you didn't get picked.
Mm-hmm. And there were times like, I don't know if anyone watching would know this, but getting picked up.
Yeah.
Like I was calling coaches after I got cut from other teams, and nobody even gave me the light of day. So I got cut.
So 13. You phoned coaches?
I did, yeah.
Not your dad, you?
No, I phoned coach. I wanted it. It's not my dad who wanted it. I was the one who wanted it.
Most kids don't. Most kids' hockey parents work either through their parents or through a board or through a letter, and you're picking up coaches and saying, I want to be on your team.
Yeah. And I'd ask,
no coach
I'd ask, like, if I got cut, I'd ask the coach. I was like, hey, like, do you know who needs a goalie? Like, who can I call? And yeah, I just, I ran into walls everywhere I looked. And yeah, so I guess how many times? 13, 14, I got cut at 15 because I went from AA to high school. And then I skipped city, midget, AAA altogether. I just went straight to provincial.
So it's unique. I know 3 players that have done that. You're one of them. So we have minor midget and major midget.
Yeah.
So for guys watching, and minor midget is 15, 16. It's a development age for major midget, but everybody wants to play major midget.
That's a simple way of saying
exactly.
it. Yeah,
everyone wants to play major midget.
Yeah.
So you just skip the development program and you make major midget. Did you make it in your zone, or was it a different team?
It was in my zone. Yeah.
Okay, so what changed? What do you think? Just like, why was it then? That was your time. What hit do you think?
Well, I actually remember. I remember when I got cut. So I got cut from provincial AAA U18 first year major midget, and then I also got cut from city midget or U17. So I got cut from both AAAs in
double
1 year.
cut.
Yeah, double cut. And it was quick. Like I got cut from AAA, and I think like 4 days later I was cut from minor midget AAA.
Ouch.
So it was like bang bang. Like now what do I do? So I went and played high school. But I remember when I got cut from provincial AAA, the coach said like, I think you should come back. Like you should come back. And I held that with me. I was like, all right, like I'll be back. I'll go put in the year. The tough part about a midget is when you get cut, it's a whole year. There's no up and down like they're a junior, right? Like there's no call ups, there's no trades. you're stuck where you are for a year and there's nothing you can do about it.
You're done.
So that's tough mentally to decide, like, okay, I have 364 days, right? Or whatever it is, 340 days if, course of tryouts, whatever, to put in the work and get better. So yeah, I went the year and I played high school, and I went back the next year and I actually had pneumonia. I had pneumonia and I had lost 15 pounds going into tryouts. Ooh. Yeah. So and you're
not the biggest goalie. No, you're not a small goalie.
I was
what are you,
very
6 feet?
Skinny. At the time, 6 feet.
Right now, 6 feet?
At the time, it was like probably like 5'10", 5'9", where it was. And I just remember, I honestly think being sick and being at what most people would think is a disadvantage helped me, because it changed the mental side of my game. So physically, I was at a disadvantage. I had no energy. I was weak. I was sick. But mentally, I just decided, you know what? Like, there's nothing I could do about it. I might as well just go out there and have fun. And I think I played 2 games and I got 2 shutouts. Wow. Like, maybe I should be sick for every game. But, and I just remember going through that process, and I like barely remember any of it. I was like, the second I got off the ice, I felt like I was going to pass out. Like, it was just pure adrenaline took me through that whole tryout process. And at the end, they asked, they're like, all right, like, do you want to play for us? It's like to this day, I think it's the proudest day of my life. Like,
it's the first door that opened.
Exactly. Like, I've committed. I've been drafted in the USHL. I've played on AJ teams. Like, all these things I've done. I've won a championship in the MJHL. That still stands out as like the day that everything changed for me. I didn't even know what to say. I was sitting there just like, I was like, I did it. Like, this is the beginning. Everything that I had worked through and everything just became worth it in that 1 second.
So how do you stay in a mindset then where people are cutting you? You're behind the curve, as they say. So if you're not, like you said, people were committed at 16.
Yeah.
I hate to blow your mind, but they were committed at 13.
Yeah.
I had players in that. So the WHL route signs you at 14 years old. You're signed to a team because that's your draft year, or you're picked up as a free agent. Yeah. So colleges are in on Canadians at 13 to get them to avoid the dub route. But as you said, I always caution players because they sign what we call a guarantee. And it can be, nothing's guaranteed. It can be pulled anytime. And you're 5 years away from playing college. So what a place for a player to be. Do I play in the dub now and wipe college? Yeah. Or do I take this promise that's only a promise? It can be thrown out at any time, legal binding document or not. How do you stay in a mentality when kids are wearing hats with the dub and they're going to college and you haven't even made AAA? Yeah,
well, I was so naive, and I think that, like, naive is a funny word because I always thought I was better than I was, right? If that makes any sense. I didn't feel like I was cocky, but I always felt like I should be where I wasn't, but that didn't make me angry. It made me want to work harder for it, right? And I'd tell people, I was playing like AA, and they're like, what do you want to do in hockey? I was like, I want to play in the USHL and I want to go to college. And they're like, that's crazy. You're playing Bantam AA, right? And I remember I had someone say that to me. And when I got drafted in the USHL, they called me and they said, you weren't kidding. And I was like, no, like I just believed that I was going to do it before maybe other people saw that for me. So that's the only way. I was just very, very naive.
So it's funny. So when I coached you at 13, you made the jump from A1 to our team, and you actually beat out a veteran to take that spot. But the spoiler is, and you probably know this now, you've seen behind the curtain, most AAA teams and prep teams are picked before tryouts. Players know it, parents know it. It's a shill to say it's not, but most are. Mine never were. I did it long enough that I was like,
thank you for that.
Kids always surprise you. So I always had an open mind, but I would say at least 3/4 were. They were never penciled in, but you can see quickly. But I remember I actually brought out 3 coaches to watch you specifically because I was letting a veteran go just to make sure it was that. And they all said it was right. And so far to this day, every player in the back of my mind that I've left from AAA or AA going, I think they're going to make it, has gone, because it's a mindset of work that they get. Like, you guys just put in this work that I don't see most players put in, where you're either very dedicated and you understand what you're doing. And it's this weird mindset. I tell players and parents, if you're not obsessed, it's over.
Obsession beats talent every time.
Every time. Like, I'll tell you, this was my mentality at hockey. Play AAA, everything's great. After hockey, I'm done. I want to see my friends. I got other things to do. Every player that has made it now, every single player, they're crazy in the right way, where would they go, oh, hockey's done. Where's the next ice?
Yeah.
If they can't find ice, you're playing ball hockey. If you're not playing ball hockey, you're stick handling in the basement. If you're not stick handling in the basement, if you don't think goalies stick handle, you're wrong. Yeah. You're finding something hockey obsessed. Was that you?
Yeah, I mean, well, I was playing high school hockey, and we'd have games Friday night, and like high school, it's supposed to be like a fun time of your life, right? Guys were going out after games, whatever. And I never did. I remember I'd lose a game, and it'd be 9:30 or no, it'd be much earlier than that, I guess, because it was high school hockey, right? We played, I guess, 4:30 to whenever the game would end, and I'd go to the rink practice. I'd go to a goalie session, and it's like, oh, like, Carson, you coming out today? No, like, I know you guys are happy here, but I want to make this next step, right? Always me. I was playing street hockey because I shoot right-handed for player, but I shoot left for goalie. So I was playing street hockey left-handed like every summer growing up, just to learn how to use my left hand to shoot.
Wild.
But it's like the little things like that people, I never looked at that as work though. It's just what I wanted to do. So I didn't even see it as like a sacrifice or as an extra step or anything like that. It was just what I wanted to do. All this extra stuff that we do, it's so much easier when you have, like, I've had a great support, yourself included. Like there were people that I felt like when I didn't believe in myself still saw something. I mean, like you said, like you see these kids that you think are going to do something that makes the difference for us, because when we don't believe in ourselves, someone else patting us on the back and saying like, you got it, is huge.
Do you remember at 13 your slump?
I remember. I was
Do you remember
wondering
it?
if this was going to come up. Yes.
Do you remember that
Yeah.
slump? So Carson at 13 came out like a house on fire. You were the rookie.
Yeah.
And at 13, it's always a net split. It always makes me laugh. So all the way through AAA, and it might not have been this at 16 AAA, because I coached 13, 14.
Mm-hmm.
All the way through AAA, parents and goalies, who's the starter? It's 14-year-old hockey.
Yeah.
You're getting 30 games each. Deal with it. But we do have a ranking, and in the back of my head, I was like, well, an all-star game came up, and you got the nod.
Yeah.
You got the nod, and you went, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But then you slumped.
Yeah.
And I will never forget the panic on your face about slumping and the frustration.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no problem. My day was not stressed at all. I was like, you'll be fine. So how did you work through that? Like what puts you in that mind? And then how do you get out of it? Because you made AAA sick as a dog because you weren't thinking. Well, you were just playing.
Well, you brought me out of it. I remember this exact.
What did I do? I actually have no idea. I just remember you were in a slump.
I remember this. It was either before or after practice one day, and I was sitting outside away from the whole team. I was like on the brink of tears. I was like so torn up about it. And I remember you came out and you saw that I was upset and you asked what was wrong, and obviously you probably knew, right?
Yeah, I knew.
Terrible couple games and terrible all-star game, which, you know, at 13.
Oh, I did forget about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had a rough one.
All-star game, yeah.
Yeah.
And at 13, that's like your whole world, right? It's like, goodness, the all-star game, it's this, that. It's really not that big of a deal. I was 13. Looking back on it now, I laugh. But
so can I put context there?
Go ahead.
So for me and any adult, it's not a big deal.
Exactly.
But for the goalie that didn't make it, and for you at 13, 1 period is all they get in an all-star game, because 3 goalies make it 3 periods. So you get 20 minutes to do your thing.
Yeah.
And you let in a couple, you have a bad one. You feel like, my God, I don't deserve this. I didn't do this. Like, was that going through your head?
Yeah, exactly. And I remember, I think it was like a spring team or something. Again, it sounds silly saying this just because of how irrelevant it is now. But there was a spring team like sitting beside my parents talking about me, and then they left halfway through, and I was like, oh my goodness, like I thought my career was over. That's what it felt like to me. But you came out and you talked to me, and it was super simple. All you said was, it was something like you're on the right track. Don't worry about it. If you want me, like, I'll call anybody and let them know that was a bad game. Like, that wasn't you. And I remember that just totally calmed me down. I was like, okay, like, we're good. Back to work now. So, yeah. And that's all it was. And it was probably a way bigger deal to me than it was to you, because for me, it was a huge deal at the time, being young and not understanding how much else there is out there. But it just, people, when they help you get back on the right course like that, that's the difference maker. So
fun fact about that, it probably kills. There's 2 types of coaches. I met them all, and I won't name where they're at, but you might have an idea in your head of them. You either care too much, and it actually eats you up inside. It does. Like when a player is upset, it eats you up because a lot of people look at players 13 and up. You guys wear cages. Goalies do, but like so do players. And you're almost looking like little adults at that point. And the parents that scream on ice, like I think they forget you're kids. Like they really do. And even in junior, you're 16.
Yeah.
You're not a man, like you're 16 and people think you are, but you're mentally not there. So it actually always tore me up inside when players were rattled. But I also knew that if I showed that I was torn up, that's not what you need.
Yeah.
You don't need a buddy. You need a guy to direct, and you need somebody to know it's going to be all right. So the key to being an adult, I'm sure you figured it out now that you're an adult, is we actually have no idea what we're doing.
Yeah.
But we pretend like we do.
Yeah.
And the world needs us to pretend that way.
Yeah.
And I actually think there's too many adults nowadays that are comfortable saying, I have no idea. Yeah. Well, you know what? Someone's got to know what they're doing, or at least pretend like they do.
Fake it till you make it, right?
Well, yeah. So I was pretty rattled about it. And there's a couple kids. It's funny because I have conversations and I can name you 5 players supremely talented that could and should have been in the NHL. And I could tell you at 13, they weren't going. You could see it in the mindset. You're like, as much as I'm trying to steer you.
Intangibles.
Yeah. And you beat yourself up about that as a coach. You're like, is there anything more I could have done to steer this? Because they had the talent. They didn't have the work ethic.
Yeah.
And it's really sad because how many guys do you know that had the work ethic?
Yeah.
No talent.
Yeah.
We lie to people when we say talent doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
You could be dust as a human. Let's think about some NHL players we won't name, but everyone do an exercise for an NHL player you don't like that you think has terrible work ethic, and he's there because he's talented. Yeah. Every coach will take a chance on talent.
Yeah, 100%.
Every single one. Yeah. They all think they can fix it. I'm no different. You always think you can get through. So it's cool.
Yeah.
So that's your path. So now you're there.
Yeah.
The next path is do your best and impact. So you've said it. You want to impact in university.
Yeah.
So then let's talk about goaltending as a whole.
Sure.
Why is it a game within a game?
Well,
so like you've had a coach since you were 9.
Yeah.
That's private.
Yeah.
Not your hockey coach, not me, not your college coaches. You've had one guy that's your coach within a coach. Talk to me about what that's like working on a game away from the team.
Yeah, so it's definitely a blessing and a curse. I feel like it's a blessing because your world's a lot smaller and it's a lot more personal. So you get way more attention where, you have 2 goalies on a team, 3, whatever it is, 18 players, 19 players, 20 players, whatever it is. It's a much smaller number. So you work much more closely, you get a lot more attention. But at the same time, a lot of the time, the position is undervalued. It does not get the attention it needs. So it's really black and white. You either have the help, you have the resources, and it's great, or you don't, or the team doesn't have a goalie coach, or they're not present, and maybe practices are super unfriendly for goalies.
So it's all or nothing.
Black and white. Exactly.
It's 100% or crap.
That's what I'd say. That's my personal experience. Yeah.
I'd agree from the goalies that I see. So then tell me about the mindset. I talk about this all the time on the channel, and sometimes I get chirped at in the comments about it. I think a lot of fans and players that played forgive goalies for everything. Like you can never blame the goalie. You can never, and I try to put people in the mindset of a goalie because every goalie I've had from you all the way up, and you were my first one. Yeah. First team I ever had was you in the O2s. Every goalie I've known wants to stop every shot and will break down every reason to stop every shot, whether it's an angle, a deflection, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's really funny because people talk about luck in sports. Hockey's the only sport in the world that you shoot for luck. It's really strange, but think about it. In basketball, you don't shoot a ball off another player's backside, hoping to hit a backboard and go in. Yeah. But in hockey, we're trained to take shots that are plinko, that are crap.
Just bounce all over the place.
Yeah. I was a defenseman, so I teach my defensemen to just put pucks towards the net, not even on the net. Mm-hmm. And it's a purposeful play, but you're hoping for a bounce. So how do you get yourself into that mindset to let a shot go? But then how do you battle through okay, how do I stop that next time? How do I stop the impossible?
Yeah, well, no matter how a puck goes in, it could be a 5-on-0. I feel like blame ourselves more than anyone else, right? It's what could I have done differently to save that puck? So I've got a little rule. I say if you aren't gonna...
Did you say even if it's a 5-on-0?
Yeah.
Okay, take that to the bank, everybody. I told you that. Every goal that goes in, they will think about how they could have stopped it. They will not forgive themselves.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, exactly. You can blame us all we want, or whatever, but we're already doing it. But yeah, I think my rule is if you're not going to worry about it in 5 years, don't spend more than 5 seconds thinking about it. So if I let in a goal, it might suck. You know, I feel like I let my team down. You think about it for 5 seconds. What could I have done differently? How will I stop that shot next time? And now I have another shot to stop it. So let's move on.
To the next shot,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Very
the great
good.
part about being a goalie is there's always an opportunity to redeem yourself. The great part about being any sort of athlete is there's always an opportunity to do it again and to be better, right?
So would you say, like I've told people on this channel, goalies have the mindset that it's my net. This is mine. I'm taking it. Do you have that mindset?
It's my puck. Give me the puck.
It's your puck. Okay, even better.
Yeah.
Even better.
Yeah.
So what's the most important aspect to being a goalie, do you think, from a technical standpoint? So I talk about like eyes being the number one thing for a goalie, but what do you think's the most important thing for a goalie outside of structure, just the first thing you got to have, or this ain't going to work?
Well, I feel like eyes is a given. Like you have to be able to find the puck. So outside of that, I think a goalie has to be the best skater on the team. He took the pads off. He has to have the best edge work. Maybe not the fastest in a sprint, but he's got to be the best skater. Because a lot of the time, I don't really feel like I'm making saves as much as I'm just letting the puck hit me. So as long as you're in the right spot, it's going to be a lot easier for you. So technically, like fundamentally, that's what you need. You have to be a very, very good skater.
So you're using skating to create your angle, and by creating your angle, you let the puck hit you.
Exactly.
And when you can't create that angle, then what?
So that's when the textbook, I say the textbook gets thrown out the window because it's just pure athleticism, reflexes, compete, right? Like not giving up on the puck. You see so many goalies, maybe they're out of position and they just watch the puck go in, right? And it's like, that's awful. Like, I don't care if you're throwing your stick at it, you try to get someone in front of it, right? So that's when I call it scramble ability. And the second that things don't go as planned, what do you do to scramble to keep the puck out of the net?
So fans love to point at scramble goalies as being excellent goalies because that's what's on highlight reels.
Yeah.
I want the boring goalie. So one of my favorite goalies to ever play the game is Carey Price. And everybody knows Carey Price is great, but Carey Price is great because he's so boring because the puck hits him and it's done. And we move on. It's a whistle. It's a very light rebound if there is even one, or it's directed into the right spot.
Yeah.
So when it comes down, everyone's going to scramble at some point and everyone's going to be able to angle. How do you give yourself the best chance to always angle and avoid scrambles, whether it's a 2-on-1, a cross ice pass from behind the net out front, a tip in front? Tell me about some of the hardest scenarios that we commonly see in hockey, not a 5-on-0, that challenge you, and how do you deal with them?
Well, I'm sure you're already going to know this. Like you said, defensemen just throwing a net. The hardest thing, hands down, is deflections and screens, right?
So shots from the point.
You can't see the puck. It's very hard to stop. Like you just put your body in position and hope it hits you. And tips, because you can track the puck all the way into the body, catch it, blocker it, stick it to the corner, right? Pucks are very easy. You talk about making the game look easy, and guys like Price, the reason that they're so good at that is they prevent second chances. So they don't get a lot of praise because they don't get a lot of shots, but they don't get a lot of shots because they're preventing second ones. So the hardest ones are when you make the goalie uncomfortable by making him change his plan last second, right? It goes off a shin pad, a stick, right? Now we're moving. Now we're just trying to make the save. We're really focusing on controlling it.
Are you and your goalie coach and your coaches are you measuring how many second chances occur?
Yes.
Because you are measuring it.
Analytics or whatever they call it. Yeah, advanced stats. Well, there's like programs we use that go through all of our game film and like ping in the game, like, okay, he scrambled here, scramble there, or bad rebound there, bad rebound here, right? So we get to look at that and see when it's happening.
How much do you love those advanced analytics and seeing it?
Personally, I love them. Some guys don't. They're like, I don't want to see what I did wrong. Like, I don't even want to visualize that going on. But for me, I'm watching every single one.
So it's so funny how you say that, because fans on the channel always chirp that back. I used to be not a believer in advanced analytics. Yeah. I was the old guy that said, no, you got to get a feel for it. And then as I started to get used to it, I'm a massive, massive fan and believer in advanced stats now for players, for goalies, because I think that's the only way you can nuancely get better. So it's funny that you say that there's goalies you're playing with at high levels that are like, I don't want it.
Yeah, well, there's give and takes, right? Like, I think there is something to that because we talk so much about visualization. You want to see yourself and be naive, right? See yourself succeeding. So when you see yourself not succeeding, it
can be more detrimental than good.
Exactly. But from a training standpoint, I don't think there's anything more valuable. And advanced analytics are great. I think you have to take everything with a grain of salt. Just every team's different. Every system's different, right? goalies play within different systems. Some goalies are better in some systems than others, right? And that's just the way it is. But if you want to get better, you need to look at the fine parts of your game and evaluate them.
So rapid fire, you get to choose one. You get a pass across the center of the ice, top of the circle to top of the circle, or maybe top of the circle to the bottom of the circle, that angle, right? High to low, almost that power play backdoor goal. Or you get a tip in front with a mad scramble. Which shot would you rather have?
Oh, give me the pass all day.
You want the pass?
10 times out of 10.
Interesting. So why do you want the pass over the tip?
You didn't say there was a screen involved. You didn't say there was a deflection.
No, this is like if I'm visualizing a power play where it's going down low and it's a backdoor.
A clean shot uninterrupted, I want to stop at any time. I don't care where it's coming from or where it's going.
Even if you have a 180-degree angle change, you got to cover that whole net.
The expectation for me is to stop that.
Okay.
Tips are when you're no longer in control. And that's what I don't like.
So we actually teach players that pass across the middle is that's the right shot. That's the best shot statistically to score on.
It is.
And the reason we teach them that because that shot's going to get in.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is if the puck gets to you and it doesn't get deflected and the screen doesn't go wide, you'd prefer the chance to see it than you would that it hits a body or whatever else.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, definitely.
So
I think like those passes all day, go for it, but throw a guy in front. Right? Like my job difficult as a goalie. And that's what I always tell my players, just park yourself right in front of the net.
So how many guys nowadays that you're seeing on your team and on other teams and that you've gone through are actually masters of getting in front and disrupting you? Because everyone stands in front, but how many guys actually screw with you visually? Is it an art?
That's a great question actually, because not a lot at all. Like I think I'll tell guys to do it and then they'll do it. And I'm like, you're not doing anything. You're putting yourself in a position to get hurt because you're just going to get hit with a puck and it's not going to feel good. But I played with one guy this year who was unbelievable and he'd get in my eyes and I felt like he never tipped or he missed a tip. And he was always on net. Like a lot of guys will just try to touch the puck with their stick and like wherever after that. But he had vision. He knew where he wanted to put it. And it is an art. Definitely.
It's no accident. They're like baseball players. Like they know where they're putting the ball, just like a baseball player knows how to deal with a slider or a 90-mile-an-hour slap shot. Because it's the same speed. 95-mile-an-hour pitcher from the mound, 95 slapper from the top. It's the same thing.
Absolutely.
So they know where they're putting it. So you'd say that guy in front, the art form is there. And one guy, that's it?
On my team this year, there was one guy. There was other guys who were
guys in the league?
Guys in the league. There's more. Definitely more. But it was far and few in between. There was a lot who were good. There were very few who were very good. So
when your guys won't get in front of the net and you said you're doing nothing, plus you might take a shot and get hurt, why do you think... Like, I can't figure that out with players because I know where to put them and then they always drift. Why do you think they're drifting? The chance of getting hit by the puck is the same, but now you're not scoring.
Exactly. You just said it. There's nothing else to say. The chance is the same, but you're not scoring. So I don't know why they drift. There's no explanation.
I don't get it.
The pain's going to hurt a lot more by getting smoked with the puck when it doesn't go in the net than it will if it goes off you and into the net. So you might as well just get in front of it.
So I have an unpopular opinion with players in junior. I think junior and pro, people hate this comment. I don't understand why the half visor is a thing. Because in every other sport, it's a cage. And I honestly believe if they were wearing a cage, you get more in front. It's so weird. Everyone wants to wear less equipment because it's cool.
Yeah.
They take out ear guards.
Yeah.
But like these are 100-mile-an-hour. Like you're Terminator in that stuff, man. Like it's light, but like it's covering every hole.
It's funny you say that. We played, so I don't know if you knew this, but the Ontario leagues, they do wear cages.
I know, they're up. And BC is junior B and below.
Yeah. So the junior A teams, we played one at the Centennial Cup. Every single guy had a cage. Played a totally different game. Like guys were getting sticked in the mouths and stuff on my team, and they're like, we don't know what to do. These guys they're swinging sticks everywhere.
They don't
care.
Just
exactly. But it was an advantage. It was an advantage to them. And maybe guys say you can see better or whatever out of a visor. Maybe that's true. I don't know, but yeah, definitely they were getting way grittier and they were wearing cages.
Well, it's because you don't get the little tick ups. Like I wore a visor, and I can tell you, you're right. When I play against guys who also wear visors, there's a rule, there's a code.
Yeah.
But as soon as the cage comes on, that kind of goes away. But if everyone's equal, it's all the same. Yeah. But it's always kind of interesting to see because I care about scoring now. I used to be the guy who was into I want fights and that. Now I just want goals.
Yeah.
Or I want big saves. Those are the two things that get people jacked. A save you shouldn't make or a goal. how jacked do you get making a save you shouldn't make? Or is it just, do you just feel like it's routine? Like, do you hear everyone going insane?
Yeah, I mean, that part is definitely exciting. Like the crowd or the banging on the glass or the silence, right? If you're in an away rink. I remember there's one that was notable. I made it like a pretty nice glove save. It was like 1 minute and 25 seconds left. Game 7 of the championship game, breakaway.
Game 7,
breakaway. We were up by 1. It was 2-1. And I think it was 1 minute 25 left. And he got a breakaway and I made a nice glove save. I just remember that like the silence is so good. It's such a good feeling. But at the same time, you're kind of self-critical because if you're making a big save, chances are you weren't in position or you did something wrong to make yourself have to recover, right? So it's like it's a bittersweet feeling.
Interesting. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Okay, so we've talked about the pass across.
Yeah.
We've talked about screens. We've talked about eyes and tracking. How much does size really matter? So from an NHL standpoint, you're the smallest, but you're not out of place.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking for the Vasilevsky to 6'3", 6'4" kind of area. 6'5" if you're Ottinger. But it's almost, I don't know, am I going crazy? I'm starting to see a few more 6 foot even and 6'1" guys entering. And it wasn't like that 5 years ago. It used to be 5'10", then it shot to 6'5", and now it seems to be balancing again. Why do you think that's changing? And is it changing?
Well, look, like you could look at UC Saros.
5'10", smallest in the league.
And I would think, I think that's generous. Like I've seen that guy in person and I think 5'10" is like, he's not a big human and he's completely breaking the stigma. Like I think he's you want to talk about best goalies in the league? Vasilevsky, shoe-in. I don't think it's debatable. And then I think UC Saros. That's my opinion.
I agree.
And
then, 2 great goalies.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. And then you go look at a guy like Yaroslav Halak. He's probably pretty close to retiring. What is he, 37 and he's still in the NHL and he's 6 feet tall. I've met the guy and I'm eye to eye with him.
So fundamentally on UC Saros, he's 5'10".
Yeah.
We're just going to go with the listed height. If he was 6'4", do you think he would have been as good? Like, is there an advantage to being like to playing in your size? Like, how does your game change? Because even if you made the pros, you will never be able to do what Vasi does from a technical standpoint. That doesn't mean you can't be as good as him. So how does your game change at 5'10", 6 feet, and 6'4", or do you not notice because it doesn't matter?
Well, I've got 2 points to that question. I've been asked a lot, like who I emulate in the NHL. Like, oh, who do you model your game after? And I despise that question because the answer is I model my game after Carson. You're right. I'm never going to do what Vasi's doing. I'm never going to do what Ottinger's doing. I'm never going to do what those guys are doing because I am not the same human. I'm not the same build. I don't have the same skill set, right? But my second point is when you knew me when I was young, I was undersized, right? And I think I had to be better at other things. I had to be a better skater. I had to be quicker. I had to have faster reflexes and I have to know where I am in my net much quicker, and overall I have to be more aware than maybe bigger guys do. And then when I did grow, and again, I'm not big, I'm 6 feet tall, but when I did grow, I felt like I had an edge on all the other guys who maybe were never undersized because I had all those skills and I kept them, right? So yeah, I do think guys like UC Saros, like they're way more fundamentally sound than bigger guys, and I think it's almost an advantage.
Interesting.
Than the big guys. That's my personal opinion, and I'm biased, right? I think if you can stop the puck, you can stop the puck.
I mean, Hasek, like, there's the Hasek style, there's the Price style, and there's everything in between, right? One is very technical and one is scrambly, but it works. How about puck handling? I heard a lot this year as a Jets fan. Connor Hellebuck's one of the best goalies in the league. Like, you may agree, you may disagree, it's irrelevant. He's a top 5.
Yeah.
Top 7 at worst. This guy struggled this year on puck handling, but I actually was probably the biggest defender of this man because I hear the dumb fan, and sorry fans, but it's a dumb comment to me. You should stay in the net and not play the puck. Can you tell me why that is the most wrong statement from a team tactical? Like, why do you have to play the puck? Why does your coach tell you? Why is it important? What does it do for a team when you get to play the puck?
Well, that was actually, I think that was what I worked on most this season.
Playing the puck.
Playing the puck. And I think it's, one, if you want to look at making hockey teams, if there's 2 guys just as good as each other, but one can play the puck and one can't, it's an easy decision.
You're taking the puck player.
But to be like, I've talked to defensemen about this. Like, what do you want me to do? How can I help? And it's guys aren't getting crunched because they're skating into the corner and they have a back checker on them, right? And guys get hurt or whatever it is, that it eliminates that if you can make a good play with the puck.
Okay, so that's massive.
Huge.
Because we saw guys get blown up behind the net. Samuel Girard's career may be over because he had to play a puck behind the net. And I'm not saying that Darcy Kemper or Francois, I can't remember which one, could have played that puck because they were right on him. Like there's a way. You get to almost be that outlet pass near the boards, and that forechecker can't lay body because he's got to give you as a goalie as much credit as well, right?
Yep.
So that's a big one.
You talk about as coaches like beating players, right? If you can get the puck past a player, now they're on the back check, right? I can beat a player solo. I don't even need my D to do any work, right? And then that's one player or maybe two players that are behind the play as my wingers move up with the puck.
So by beating player, you mean the forecheckers come in.
Yep.
You make a pass that goes behind the forechecker, and now that team is playing 5-on-4.
Correct.
Sounds like a really good breakout to me, actually.
Exactly.
So have you been scored on playing the puck? Bad bounce?
I've made a play that has resulted in a goal. Yeah, not directly. I never got a turnover that ended up in the back of the net, but yes. Yeah.
How many plays do you think you've made that have actually resulted in goals? You may not be on the assist sheet, but 10 plays in front of it because you broke out, your team scored.
Well, I have assists. I probably get 2 or 3 assists a year.
Well, and that's easy for fans. They all saw Igor Shesterkin get all those assists, but most of the time the goalie actually doesn't get it because there's 4 or 5 more passes. Yeah. So how many of those have you made where you're not on the score sheet, but it went in?
I couldn't even count.
It's a lot, right?
Or even I don't even think I can count.
So you're too nice of a guy, so I'll say it. But people who say you shouldn't play the puck, bananas. They're out to lunch. Goalies should play the puck. Even if you're not the best in the league at playing the puck, you should still play the puck. Do you agree?
Yeah, even if if it's stopping it behind the net and setting it up so your D-man could just swing by and make a quick play with it. That's it. Pull it off the board a couple inches so they don't have to scoop it on the boards. It's a huge difference. You
know why they put the trapezoid in? Because you're way too young.
No, I know it's there. I don't know why.
So the trapezoid got put in because Marty Brodeur, Patrick Waugh, and a handful of other goalies got so good at playing the puck.
Yeah.
That there was almost no offense because it was goalie breakout to goalie breakout. Yeah. And they said, we've got to stop this. They're too good. I actually think the trapezoid should go away because it's not in any leagues, is it? Just the NHL?
I've never played with it. I don't even think it's in the NCAA either.
Okay, so no NCAA, no junior. You've been in 2 junior leagues. I know it's not in the WHL, so it's only in the NHL. And do you see your game slow down because there's no trapezoid?
No. Well, and people think when we say playing the puck, it's not like a goal line to blue line pass.
No.
They're the same passes a D-man would make. Yeah. So what's the big deal?
You know what? I don't know, but I still think I always love bringing that one up because I do not think the goalie should stay in the net. They should play the puck.
Yeah.
So the other thing a lot of people talk about is if a goalie leaves the net, and I've heard players say this, you should be free reign to get hit if you leave the net. So now I know this, you know this. Your equipment isn't built to take contact, correct?
Yeah.
It's only built to stop pucks?
Yeah.
Have you been hit? Have you been run?
Yeah.
What's it feel like?
Not good. It usually results in injury if you get hit hard enough.
So this is the big thing to take away is if you haven't played goal before, my equipment as a player is built to sustain contact, and I actually don't feel it that much. Yes, you could get crunched, but for the most part, it absorbs it well.
Yeah.
But those goalie pads, they're just made to deflect pucks. Contact, if you basically may as well not be wearing equipment, in my opinion. Do you you've been hit now? Would you say yeah?
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah.
So when a goalie goes down and he's out, and people are like, "Oh, you should be able to get up." No, right?
Yeah, it's tough because I think it's a fine line because a goalie shouldn't be able to just walk around without getting touched, right? So it's a fine line, but yeah, if you get laid into by a player, it's
so body contact. If they bump you, that's a bump.
I think that's totally fine.
That's fine. So a rub out or a stick check, a tie up, but a full on body check, no way.
I don't even know what the rules are with that. If there even is rub outs allowed or anything.
You can't touch a goalie.
You can't.
Can't touch a goalie.
Yeah. So I don't actually agree with that as a goalie, but
interesting.
Yeah, I don't think you should be able to blow a guy up. That's just it's intent to injure at that point.
You know the fun fact about rules? No one knows the rules.
Yeah.
Period. For the hockey in general. I don't know if you care about this as a goalie, but players, we get fired up about referees and rules, and so do fans. I actually couldn't tell you what the definition is of interference, boarding, or cross-checking. I can read the book.
Fuck, it's worse when you go to goalie interference.
Yeah. I have no... Can you explain what is your opinion of goalie interference? Because it's just an opinion, because your opinion and the ref's opinion and my opinion could all be right. And it could be totally different because you're just seeing, even on replay, you're seeing something different. So what's your opinion on goalie interference? Because they're allowed in your crease, right?
Yeah.
Before the puck? Like, you have no free space.
Yeah, so, yeah, I guess if I am unable to make a save, if there's no chance I can get to a puck because of a player on the other team, that's goalie interference. If my team pushed them in there, I think they're in the clear, but they can't. I don't think they should be able to sit around. Oh, I got pushed in here, I'm just gonna stay here. That's not allowed. But it's a super fine line, and I've had this argument with refs, like the crease argument of them being allowed in there. Like, yeah, when the puck's in there, like, guys are gonna get involved. Where do you draw the line? I don't even know, personally. So you get probably to talk to refs more than players. Would you say that's right? Yeah. What's your relationship like with refs? Is it fun? Is it cool? Is it with linesmen? Like they're chatting with you all the time. Yeah, so at least in Manitoba, I was quite well known in Manitoba because I played my whole midget and minor hockey career here. A lot of the guys, when I got traded back, it was, welcome back, Cherry. You're home, right? And for the most part, it was really good, but there were one or two. Don't name them. I'm not going to name them, no, but their view on goalie interference was much different than mine, and there was a couple controversial calls, and I just couldn't see eye to eye with them on anything. But for the most part, relationships were really good. Like, they respect you enough to have a conversation, and when you're not yelling at them, they usually listen. So it's cool you get to have such a cool relationship with refs. So what about stuff like penalty shots? So in games, it is super rare you get a breakaway. Can you talk to me about the difference between a player on a penalty shot versus a player on a breakaway? And this is a clear breakaway, not a guy hooking them, because they're different. You can see they're different. Yeah, I feel like the penalty shots are tougher from a goaltending standpoint. There's no pressure on the player. I feel like on a breakaway, the player knows there's pressure, right? If it's not anywhere close. Or I think, for me, I feel like I'm going to stop a breakaway 9 times out of 10. But penalty shots, it's a whole different animal. Guys get more creative. They're not in a rush to make a play, right? They can swing left, swing right, come all the way in, do whatever they want. So it's a lot more fun, just because it's a whole nother aspect. But definitely a little more difficult. So what's harder for you? Slow and methodical left to right, or speed and a shot? That's speed and a shot. That's what I tell my guys to do, is make one move, left, right, whatever it is, and shoot it as hard as you can through the goalie. Right? Okay. I've always believed that too. Guys with stone hands, I'll just tell them skate as hard as you can, make them pretend you're not even stopping, and just go over his shoulder. So that actually works. Yeah, that's why I tell guys, especially at the younger levels and even in junior, we don't flood in shootouts. So the ice, chances are it sucks. So you're not going to go beat Patty Kane out there. We're not the NHL where we get the 2 lines of flooded ice. So I think shooting is definitely the safe bet. But if you can pull some, you could probably look it up. If you want to look me getting scored on, some guy made a move on me on Flin Flon. We had a shoot against Flin Flon, and he just undressed me. And if you could pull something like that out of your pocket. Is that on YouTube? I'm putting it down below. If I find it, it's going down below for a link. If I don't find it, that's all right. Yeah, it could be. And if not, I know Instagram accounts posted it. It's probably on TSN or something, or Hockey Canada. It got picked up by TSN. It might have. It was. But if you're that guy and you've got can I say balls? You've got the balls to try that? Yeah, if you've got the balls to try that and pull it off, all the power to you. Yeah. Well, if you're that good, you're that good. When you watch one of my favorite young guys in the NHL is Zegras. I don't know where he gets this. Yeah. I know he's not the best in the NHL, but seriously, that guy pulls out some stuff where I'm I didn't know Sticks would do that. Patty Kane is for sure. Yeah. But Zegras is coming on as one of these. He doesn't have those weird hands Kane does, but I've never seen a guy. He scored that Michigan, which is common. Yeah. But then he scored it in a weird way. And I was like, what? How? He's done some things where I'm it bends my mind. Well, as goalies, we say, we want the player to make the first move, to react, right? But how am I react? The one you said, they flicked it over the net to his buddy there and he smacked it in. What do I do? What do I react to? Nothing. That? You're not taught to deal with that. Pray to Sky God. Exactly. Or Ice God, or any God you want to pray to at that point. And that's why when guys really get creative, you're kind of out of your element. Do you actually believe, because you've gone through every system, so I actually don't know this answer. I have a belief that to play at speed, you have to play at speed. Meaning, to play in the league, you have to get used to that league speed, because no matter what, it's time and space. Right? As you go up as a goalie, I'm sure correct me if I'm wrong, it's no different as a goalie than it is as a player, because when the shots are faster and the time and space, meaning the play is moving faster, you have less reaction time, correct? Yeah.
That's the problem, is less time to think through, see the puck. So how do you develop your skills at a lower level when the speed isn't there to prepare yourself for speed? So if you can't get AHL speed or NHL speed in the NCAA, and you cannot, how do you develop at those lower levels to be ready to take that jump for speed?
So, well, one, I don't think you should be thinking about making a jump until you're dominant where you're at.
Dominant. Okay, so that's the thing. Master your area.
Yes. And I think that, there's a lot of, I think, especially in goaltending, skills are so translatable, right? Like if I'm good at one thing in college, I'm going to be good at it in whatever league I play in afterwards. And I'd actually argue I'd play devil's advocate here. And
I want you to. That's why I'm asking.
It's harder to play at a lower level because think about it. Yeah, it gets faster. The players' shots get harder, but my defensemen get better. Maybe they box out better, right? It's more structured. That was the craziest part when I made the jump from high school to AAA. I felt like it actually got easier because I was playing within a much stronger structure and it was just less running around. So yeah, it's harder, maybe different, yes, but harder isn't the word I'd use to describe it.
So because your team gets better, you're no longer playing with dust, because every level you go up, the sixth defenseman in the NHL was the best defenseman at the AHL.
Exactly.
Period.
Yeah.
So you're saying because you're playing with the best of the best, it's more predictable, it's more ready. People play within their roles, so you can react better as a goalie.
Yeah, so you want to talk about development. I think that happens anywhere. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So what does it feel like when you make a jump from a level to a level? So from AAA to high school, you felt that jump, you said it was easier. What was the jump like to junior? And then what was the jump like from junior? And what are you in your mind visualizing college is going to be?
Yeah, so junior was tougher than high school to midget for sure. And I think that just had to do with strictly age. You're dealing with some men at this point, right? I was
16 to 20.
17 years old playing against 20-year-olds. So that was tougher. Nothing I didn't feel like I was prepared for. And I think college is going to be very similar jump. But at the same time, I'm playing against a lot of Division 1 commits. I've played against a lot of Division 1 commits. I know what that looks like. I'm comfortable in what I've done now to make myself a good goalie there. So that's all you can do. It's an investment.
So have you sized up the players on your team and in your league? Is there anyone you can think of that you're excited to challenge you, whether they're on your squad as a player or that's going to be shooting against you that we may see in the NHL?
Yeah, of course. I played against a couple guys. The Brooks Bandits. I'm sure you know the Brooks Bandits. Yeah, so we played against a lot of guys in the Brooks Bandits that I'm really excited to see again. They were in my division, and they committed to schools in my division. And I remember they kind of had their way with me when I played against Brooks when I was back in the AJ. I'm excited for that on a more a higher level playing field.
Are there any guys like I know he's not in your division, but like I think of like a Matthew Nyes who's committed to the Leafs, but he's going back to Minnesota. You won't see him. But are there any guys like that they're signed, they're committed, but they're staying one more year and you're going to see them, or no, you're not worried? Didn't even think about it.
I mean, I guess it'd be kind of cool to see Anthony Kerr. I don't know what his plans are.
Okay, so Anthony Kerr.
You know AK, probably, right? Yeah, so he's with Wisco. And again, schedules, it's weird in college. We don't play every team. So if I saw a guy that I knew that I grew up with, that'd be really cool. Yeah.
How's Anthony doing?
I don't know. I've completely lost touch, but to be able to play against him again, that'd be cool.
That's interesting. So he was actually the same age as Seth Jarvis over on, which is a year older than you.
No, same age.
It's an 02? It's an 02? Yeah. Okay, I thought they were 01s.
No.
Interesting. Okay. So he's right around that, though.
I believe AK's. I think he's a 02.
I know Jarvy's an 01.
No, Jarvy's an 02.
He's an 02, eh? I thought he was an 01. No, you win. You win.
I could be wrong, but yeah, I'm 99% sure 02.
Interesting. So he's still at that age. So you're going to play against Anthony, and he's, do you know who owns his rights?
No idea.
At this point, he was a hell of a defenseman as a kid. So.
That's what I mean. I don't know what his plans are. I don't even know if he's going back or anything like that. But it'd be cool. Yeah, like you said, if I was looking forward to playing against someone, it'd be guys like that I grew up with or around as a kid.
So then the last awestruck question, do you think of this? Like when you show up to your first, whether it's college or wherever, and you see a player that you've whether you've idolized them, you've watched them on TV, do you get a fan reaction as that? Or are you just in and you want to play this guy? One day you're sitting across from McDavid.
Yeah.
Do you go, holy crap, or do you not even care?
No, it's exactly what you said. Like it's, I'll talk to you after. Like
you got a job.
We got to go now. Yeah, definitely.
And do you want the shot from that guy? In the back of your mind, do you kind of do you chirp at all? Are you a chirpy guy?
No, I'll answer maybe if a guy gets a good one on me or something, but no, I try to keep it calm and composed.
All right. Well, you have some of the most sense I've ever seen for a goaltender. All of you are wingnuts. Whether or not Carson looks composed or not, to stop a 100-mile-an-hour puck willingly, there's something going on in there, no?
Yeah.
Yeah? It's a different mentality.
At least one screw loose. That's
and
for
to
sure.
take 30 of them a game.
Yeah.
But other than that, it has been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. I'm sure people are going to be stoked about this insight. We went way longer than we could, but I'll put it all up because I think there's a lot of good stuff.
Thank you.
So good luck. So tell us the team you're with again.
RPI, Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute.
RPI. So there you go. Go check out some of the games. It's one of the few players that I've had that were able to go up. And one day you'll see his jersey hanging behind me from RPI.
Thank you.
I'll be replacing Kyle Connor will go. You guys will see Sharepack because he's promised me a jersey for the wall.
Deal.
Okay. Thanks, pal. Appreciate you being here.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's everything that we had today. If you have any questions that you're dying to ask Carson, I will filter 2 through to Carson, and I will get an answer back from you, from Carson. You have to be subscribed down below, and I can see it, and you have to drop a like on the video. So comment, like, let me know if you have any question about goaltending. He's willing to answer anything except about a direct NHL player or another athlete in college, because these guys got to be pros. They've got to do, just like you got to be pros with your business dealings, they got to be pros too. But any technical question you got, he's there. Is that a deal? Can we do 2?
That works, yeah.
Okay, that'd be awesome. Thanks, guys, and we will catch you in the next one.